In 1861, William Durant was born in Boston, Massachusetts, to quite a wealthy family, particularly his mother's side, who were French descendants. And they decided to live with their mother's family, presumably because of the wealth. About 8 years later, I'm losing my cardboard. It's windy and it's freezing cold. When he was 25, he went into partnership in Flint in Michigan, where he was living, making horse-drawn carriages using the wealth from the family. That's that. And the business was very successful. In fact, the two partners made $2 million, which in today's money is an awful lot. At the time, the internal combustion engine was really ramping up, and the earliest motor cars were very smelly, they were noisy, causing all sorts of pollution, noise pollution as well, and there was quite a lot of public angst against them. And so he wasn't a big fan of the internal combustion engine, which is why he was into horse-drawn carriages. But in any case, he decided that this political fervour against the automobile he was going to use to his advantage. So he set up a company to invest in them. And the first company that he bought in 1904 was Buick. It was an ailing early automotive manufacturer. And once he bought Buick, he partnered with a Canadian gentleman by the name of Samuel McLaughlin. And together they hatched a plan to form a massive automobile conglomerate. In 1908, they managed to get a bank loan to do exactly that. And they called the company the General Motors Holding Company. It began buying car companies right, left and centre, including Oldsmobile and Cadillac in 1909, and in later that year, another company called the Rapid Motor Company. Within 2 years, they decided to change that company to the name that really everybody knows today. And you may be wondering why I put those pieces of cardboard in these recycling receptacles. Well, firstly, I'm a big believer in recycling, but I'd also written 3 letters on each of those pieces of cardboard. Those letters were G, M and C. I'm Darren Walker, and this is Auto Atlantica. The GMC truck company was formed in 1911, and as the name suggests, it made trucks, and these were fairly large body-on-frame affairs. And in 1943 they also ventured into making buses and motorhomes as well, and indeed until 1998 the official name of the division was the GMC Truck and Bus Division. It's only been GMC since then, very much simplified. Since 1920, GMC and Chevrolet have basically been the same commercial vehicle based on the same platform. And light duty, medium duty and heavy duty trucks in the 1970s and early 80s, and buses too. And they were very famed for making a motorhome in the 1970s, which reputedly is going to come back. These days, they make SUVs and small pickup trucks and full-size pickup trucks. And the SUVs these days are essentially unibody affairs, like this one. This is our 2024 GMC Terrain. The Terrain is the smallest vehicle that GMC do, and it's been in production since 2010. The first Terrain was a little bit boxy. It was replaced by this body style in 2018 and refreshed in 2021, which is what you see here. That refreshed facelift was basically cosmetic, just externally. The interior was left largely untouched. So we're going to have a look around it. This is our latest demo. It is covered in salt, and I'll tell you a bit about it, and then we'll go out for a drive. Okay, so as I said, the Terrain is the smallest vehicle in GMC's lineup. It's essentially a rebodied version of the Chevrolet Equinox and sits on the General Motors D2XX platform. Like I say, it's now in its 7th year of production, and compared to newer models in GM's lineup, it is starting to show its age, unfortunately, but it's a very, very good vehicle. We've had a number of them over the years. It's very attractive as small crossovers go. I think one of the most attractive, it competes with the likes of the Toyota RAV4 and the Honda CR-V and Ford's Escape, which is the same as the Cougar in Europe. This is an SLT, but it's got a blacked out package on it called Elevation. So you get the black grille instead of chrome. You get the gloss black alloy wheels again instead of chrome, and there's no chrome on the window surrounds either. It's got black badging and black mirrors as well to complete the deal. The Terrain in general is a nice place to be. Like its bigger brother, the Acadia, you get some very nice trim pieces as well. The faux wood in the lower models is very nice, but actually in the Denali you get real wood trim pieces. The thing I like about both of them is the push button gearbox. Now the push button gearboxes are nothing new. These were fairly common amongst manufacturers in the 60s, but they made a comeback. And of course this means that you've got all this area free here to put your hands and your drinks and goodness knows what else. And it's also got a slight toggle switch here as well, where you can select between 2- and 4-wheel drive in these all-wheel drive versions. You've also got hill descent assist here. You've got lane change control here, so it marks the lanes for you, and heated seats. And the nice thing about these heated seats is that you can heat everything or just the backs only. I've always liked that about the Terrain and the Acadia too. You've got dual zone climate control in this thing as well, and you can also switch off the stop start right there if you don't like it. The rest of it is very much standard GM fare from the 2010s, including the dashboard, these instruments, and the central digital display here. It was in pretty much everything from Cadillacs down to the lowliest Chevys. On this SLT, you've got seat memory as well, and obviously the standard mirror and window controls are all GM, as are the OnStar controls. This particular SLT has the optional panoramic roof as well, which is very nice. This is a very large panoramic roof, which is accessible to the front and rear passengers alike. First day we'll have a mess around in the snow, since we had a few inches yesterday. The all-wheel drive system in these is very, very capable, and GMC have this image of being very tough. That's why they look a bit more masculine, if you like, for want of a better word, than the Chevrolet equivalents. The styling is very much molded on their trucks. Now, when the second generation Terrain first debuted, it had a choice of two engines. There was a diesel in the old Terrain that was available in this one, but not for very long, if I recall. But there was a choice of two petrol engines. There's a 1.5 litre, which generated 170 horsepower, turbocharged, and a 2 litre turbocharged, which generated 252. Now, when General Motors performed the facelift on the car, which was supposed to come in 2020 but was delayed because of the economic problems caused by COVID, it was delayed a year. GM dropped the 2 litre or LSY unit out of the Terrain completely, leaving only the 1.5. That 2 litre then went into the larger Acadia, and I feel personally that GM shortchanged its customers with that particular move. They did upgrade at the same time the 1.5 and gave it 5 extra horsepower, so it now generates 175. But personally, I've always favoured the 2 litre. It was an ideal engine for this car. It was a great motorway cruiser. We've done many miles in one of those. But the 1.5, it doesn't feel anemic, but it's not suited to the gearbox. The gearbox in both engines was a 9-speed, automatic only. But I always feel that it's constantly hunting, particularly lower down the rev range as well, and certainly on hillier terrain. Saturday afternoon, so I am making sure that I'm aware of everybody that's out shopping. Trim levels on the Terrain start with the SLE, and they go up through the SLT, which is normally a bit more blinged with chrome, and then the AT4, which is a blacked out version, and you get beefier tyres and some undercarriage protection. And then you get the Denali, which is the blingy all chrome version, which is what we've had several of. They come with 4-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. There used to be a base SL model as well, which was kind of like a hard-to-get value leader. Most dealers were lucky to even see one, but with a very low advertised starting price, it would get feet into showrooms. It's got 4G built in, basically all the standard settings, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It's got Sirius XM you get for 3 months with like all new GM cars. But yeah, I mean it's quite old hat now, this display. It is touchscreen. It's not glossy, so it can show fingerprints at times. The nice thing about this screen compared with the Equinox is it's not flush like the Equinox. The Equinox has a glossy screen, but it is also very prone to reflections from sunlight, whereas this doesn't. You've got this cowling over it, so even in bright sunshine this screen is perfectly visible. But as far as SUVs go, that's pretty much what you're going to get in this class. Now let's have a look at the build sheet and see what we get here. So it's saying, we've got the 1.5 turbo with the 9-speed automatic. The standard vehicle price for this car is $34,300. As I've said before, you got this Elevation Edition, which is $800, and it gives you the gloss black wheels and the various blacked out accoutrements. The power panoramic sunroof is $1,500 with the electric sunshade. And then you've got a $700 GMC Pro Safety Plus package, which gives you park assist, which is parking sensors, the rear cross traffic alert, the lane change alert, and adaptive cruise control. And adaptive cruise control is the reason my wife has got this, because that is at the top of her list, and along with all-wheel drive in the winter. Now, the Terrain's boxy shape means that you get this cavernous boot space or trunk space, and this is the dealer installed mat kit. 60/40 folding rear seats, and you've got a 12-volt outlet in the back there as well. Excuse me while I clamber over all this snow. It's pretty tricky. You have to excuse some of our stuff. Back seat space is very, very good in these. You get a couple of USB-A ports back there as well, and in this one you've got a 115 volt outlet. You've got perimeter central lock-in on this. As long as you got the key fob in your pocket, it'll operate. The good point about the train is the quality, the interior fit and finish. It's very nice. You've got this nice stitching along the dashboard and on the seats and on the door cards as well. This is a nice soft leatherette, and the plastic here is a little bit harder, but the wooden trim is very nice. It always has been, and I've always liked the ambience of the Terrain in general. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed this brief insight into the GMC Terrain, particularly those of you over in the UK where these are not going to be a common sight at all. It's been a little bit of fun with this one, sort of frolicking in the snow, so to speak, but I'm going to get indoors. I cannot feel my feet anymore. It's about -12 Celsius out there, and the wind's now starting to blow, so those wind chills are really starting to rock it down. So I think I'm going to get a cup of tea. I'm Darren Walker, and this is Auto Atlantica. Okay, I do want to point out, since filming, which was last week in all that snow, where I did mention that this car, along with its sister car, the Chevrolet Equinox, is getting rather long in the tooth. You can really tell that inside. It's got the old design language. It uses the older IntelliLink system as well. That just this past week, the next generation Equinox has actually been announced. That means that the Terrain version will not be far behind, probably within 6 months, I would imagine, of me filming this. So that's important to point out, I think. Even this, I still think that this car looks fresh, but the new one has the latest Chevrolet design language in line with the larger Traverse, and it's also got the latest design language inside as well.